Okay, so two new phones from Infinix, an Ultra and a regular 020. There are a couple notable changes this year, especially with the Ultra, and in this video I'm going to give you a rundown of the specs as well as my first impressions. I would be reviewing these two phones soon, so you should definitely subscribe so you don't miss that. So now let's talk about the phones. Let's start with the Ultra. Well, they went with the Ultra name, so you know what that means. It's the best of the best, their flagship. In fact, it's the most expensive Infinix phone so far, starting at around $520. Now, of course, pricing is going to vary depending on the region that you're in, but reports suggest that here in Nigeria, it's going to cost around 350,000 naira. So not cheap. So what do we get with the Ultra? Well, Ultra specs, I hope. For the design, we've got a glass sandwich, glass on the front and glass on the back. But what's cool about the design is the curved display. The curve isn't too aggressive, so I don't think it would be a problem. What could be though is the lack of a headphone jack. So yes, the Zero Ultra has no headphone jack. For the display, it does check all of the boxes though. It has a 6.8-inch 120Hz AMOLED display. In addition to that, we've also got a hole punch cutout and that curved display I mentioned earlier. I really can't wait to get this and see it myself. Internally, we get the Dimensity 920 chipset, which is a much more powerful chipset. It's also a 5G enabled chipset, so we do get 5G on the Zero Ultra. I remember when the Note 12 VIP was released, we were pissed because we didn't get 5G or a 5G chipset, so it's safe to say that they were saving it for their premium flagship device. Crazy enough, nothing we've mentioned so far is actually the headliner of the Zero Ultra. I would argue it's the camera. The main camera. It's a 200 megapixel main camera. We've also got a 13 megapixel ultra wide camera and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. Now 200 megapixels is a lot, and of course we know that megapixels don't tell the whole story, but I mean that would help a lot with detail as well as low light photos and perhaps video as well. I don't know, I just can't wait to get my hands in these phones and actually test out the cameras. Now typically battery specs are quite boring, but not with this one. We get a regular 4500 mAh battery cell, but we get 180 watts fast charging. Now that's actually different from the 120 watts that we had on the VIP. So this is much faster. I think with 5 minutes of charging, you could get about 40%, which is insane. And the best part is the 180 watts adapter, the power brick, is included in the box. And yeah, that's a quick roundup of the Ultra. So now let's talk about the 020. I actually prefer the red design of the 020. It also retains the headphone jack, which might be important to a lot of people, and it's much cheaper at $270, which is about 200,000 naira. So cheaper than the Ultra, but what do we get for the 20? Design wise, it's actually nice looking. Like I said, I prefer the camera layout on the 020 when compared to the Ultra. The sides are flat and thick too, kind of like the iPhones. So that means the display as well is flat, not curved like the Ultra. But it's still a pretty good display. It's a 6.7-inch 90Hz AMOLED display. So we still get a pretty good display on here, but my only gripe might be the bezels on the front, especially that U-shaped notch at the top. But let's see when we get it in hand. On the inside, we get the Helio G99 chip, which is a pretty new chip. We also get 8GB of RAM and 256GB of base storage. And yeah, when we get it in-house, we'll definitely be testing this out to see how it performs, playing games, all that stuff. So again, if you haven't subscribed already, you should probably subscribe. The cameras as well are quite impressive. A 108 megapixel main camera, a 13 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. And it's crazy to say this, but what's more impressive is the front facing camera. It's a 60 megapixel camera with optical image stabilization and autofocus. 60 megapixels on the front facing camera is actually a first, I believe, but 108 megapixels as well is no joke. And yes, we did mention that the Zero Ultra has that thunder 180 watt fast charging. The 020 doesn't, but it does have a pretty respectable 45 watt charger, which could take it from 0 to 100 in under an hour, which is pretty okay. There are still a couple things to discover, a bunch of tests still to be done, but as far as first impressions go, the Zero Ultra and the 020 are looking really impressive. And yeah, I can't wait to actually get to test them. If you have any questions in particular that you want answered about the Zero Ultra or the Zero 20, definitely leave them in the comments. I will be going through and possibly answer those questions in the full review. For the last time, if you haven't subscribed, who am I kidding? You've probably already subscribed. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you also for 20,000 subscribers. I can't believe I almost forgot that. You guys are so amazing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you when you see me.